All right, guys, what's happening? What's happening? Good morning. Good morning to you. It is Wednesday, July 28th, 2021. This morning, we're going to talk about a hot topic, maybe a controversial topic. We're going to talk about why Simone Biles quit the Olympics. I'm going to give you a lot of different perspectives on it. I think it's important for us to discuss not just the fact that she quit, but kind of the meaning behind all of that. What message does it send? What are the reactions that are happening in the sports world and beyond as a result of her decision to quit the Olympics? And let's dig into it this morning. Let's get started.
It is ultimately important for you to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life, and then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that lines up.
All right, guys, what's happening? Happy Wednesday to you, man. We're going to talk about a topic this morning that I think, could get a little controversial. I think there's a lot of different opinions on this, and I'm going to try to do my best to give you every different opinion and why I think that this situation is an example of some things that happen in the world on a regular basis that I don't think are necessarily healthy for our society. I don't think that some of the things and some of the reactions and the way that, our world kind of deals with things is necessarily good from an example standpoint or from the standpoint of how people actually process the things that happen in our world. And I could go from, LeBron James walking off the court in the NBA to this scenario of Simone Biles, quitting in the middle of the Olympics on the rest of her team. And so, let's just throw it out there up front that, I am extremely sensitive to mental health issues. And I listened to the interview that Simone gave. And, I found that interview to be very interesting. And I don't know all the facts on this scenario, but I want to give everybody a perspective from a 30,000-foot view of what I've seen, reading through some of these things over the last, yesterday and this morning, and kind of give you a perspective of what I see. And so it's not necessarily just about Simone Biles, but it's about, kind of how our society reacts to a lot of different things that happen. And what I believe is the problem, the underlying problem that comes from the way that people in general just react to these kinds of things without, knowing all the facts. And so with that said, I am not here this morning to pretend that I know everything about it. I'm not here to pretend that my opinion or my perspective is the right one. But I want to give you some context to what I think and what I see and how I see these things impacting people in the real world as a result of kind of the way that everything is reacted to online and in the media, et cetera. So, but before we get started and jump into that, I first want to say good morning to some folks. Dan Hill, good morning to you. Tammy Clark, good morning. Ed Curtis, Daniel Good, what's happening? Jenna, good morning to you. Scott, Bob and Cynthia, Trisha, Christina, David, Randy, and Ryan Austin, good morning to you guys. So, and Dean Deo, good morning to you, brother. Good to see you here, man. So let's jump right into this and talk about, kind of the opposing opinions of this decision, right? So when you look at the decision to quit the Olympics, right, for her to withdraw from the team side of what she was doing in the Olympics in the middle of the event, when you think about that, there are some ramifications to that, right? There are, some people out there that are saying, hey, look, she kind of left her team hanging and that's not a good thing. That's terrible, man. She should have finished, et cetera. And then there's the opposing camp that says, hey, if she's struggling, mentally, she should definitely, have the right to withdraw from the Olympics. And that is being celebrated, right? And so where I want to caution everyone is to not jump too far to conclusions before you actually, listen to all the facts and get some context. And that's actually with this situation, what bothers me the most, right? Is that people are so quick to just jump and celebrate something, as opposed to looking at the context of all of the ramifications of this decision, what it looks like to kids, what it looks like to her teammates. And so when I look at this scenario and I say to myself, well, why is it that so quickly everybody jumped on the bandwagon of celebrating this? Because when you look in the media, there are far more articles that are celebrating this person quitting than there are really, kind of just reporting the facts and removing themselves from judgment until everything is better understood, right? And so I think that this is, really something consistent in our society where, people are really rushing to support something that they don't necessarily fully understand, right? And, mental health is one of those things where, when somebody, talks about it, that people are very sensitive. In fact, this morning I shared with a couple of people, I was a little nervous about having this conversation with you guys, but I think that our own perspectives and speaking from our own perspectives so that we can provide each other with some context on kind of how different views come about or how different people look at different situations. I think it's important for us to bear that burden and be able to talk through these things and be able to embrace whatever conflict comes with it. And so for me, I realize that, mental health is a very serious thing, right? And when you think about what an athlete goes through, there is a lot with regard to mental strength, mental discipline that an athlete has to work on in order to be ultimately successful, right? When you're in those pressure situations, you have to have the mental strength to be able to perform at the level that these athletes perform. So all I ask you guys to think about is, what does that actually look like, when you are on a team, you're playing team sports and you decide to remove yourself from that competition. And the explanation was, she was overwhelmed, she was stressed, and she delivered that in a press conference talking about, her need to really, remove herself as a result of this mental stress. And so, I just am a little conflicted on the fact that people are so quick to celebrate quitting. Now, there's a lot of context that goes into that. There's a lot of background on, the idea of playing hurt, right? And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. And I think that that's a personal decision, right? Some people want to finish regardless of how they feel, right? There's a lot of athletes who have won Super Bowls and done other things, and they have sacrificed their own well-being, their own bodies in order to be able to win. And so I just ask you guys to think about this from the opposite perspective, because I believe you're going to hear a lot on the positive of celebrating Simone for quitting and removing herself when, she wasn't feeling mentally there to do that. I would ask you to think about the opposite of that. When you think through the process of, what is it like to fight through things in life? What is it like to, play hurt, if you will? And that, again, is both sides of the coin. It could be playing hurt when you're not feeling the best mentally, right? But there's another side to playing hurt physically. And those are one and the same, in my opinion. And so I think that while I am completely compassionate to someone who is struggling, I am very careful to think about this from the perspective of what it teaches my children to celebrate someone removing themselves from a competition, because I would argue that when you look at what it takes to get to that level, that the mental strength and the mental capacity of someone has been tested significantly, right? It has been tested significantly getting to that point. And so I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I don't know enough about it to take a clear position yet, but I'm happy to continue talking about it on this show if it's something that continues and you guys want to continue the conversation around the idea of perseverance versus quitting. However, I think that it's critical for us to explain the ramifications of quitting, the ramifications and the magnitude of the decision when you look at what it means to remove yourself, right? And again, I am a big believer. Anybody that knows me knows that, we are involved with some mental health organizations. I'm in big support of that. I just think that it's we have to be very careful as a society, to celebrate these things too quickly. And ultimately how I feel deep down inside is that if we celebrate that too quickly, then what message are we sending to our children? And the athletes that are young that look up to this person, what is the effect on them when they see someone have the ability to remove themselves? We've all been in these situations, and I agree, Missy, in business or in life where, we've been extremely stressed. If I quit every time that I was stressed, I most definitely wouldn't be where I am, and I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be as strong as I am. And so, again, I don't know, the entire context of the situation with Simone, but I do take the position that we have to be very careful about how we respond to these things and to be too quick to rush to judgment one way or the other. And I think that it's very important for us to see these positions, see these situations from every perspective, to look at it from every angle and to give context if we're going to explain this to children who are maybe at the point where they're unable to process what exactly happened. And, this kind of came about as I was watching, yesterday, somebody brought it up to me. I was watching the news last night, and the messages that were being delivered, they made me uncomfortable, to be honest with you. I was not comfortable with the way that, this was kind of being presented in the news, on social media, and people, being quick to celebrate that idea of quitting. And, it's difficult to discuss because there's extreme views on both sides. But I just, I wanted to deliver the message this morning that I believe that, we should be careful about, judging from either side, and be careful about what we are celebrating as a response to these types of situations. I brought up, LeBron James walking off the court in the NBA. And I think that, the examples that people set when they are a public figure like that, that comes with, it comes with a lot of responsibility. And, again, if it is, playing hurt, whether somebody is playing with a torn knee or, I've heard of athletes playing with a broken bone, that is their own personal choice. And again, I'm not, it wouldn't, my point in that is that it wouldn't be celebrated for somebody to walk off the field with a broken bone or anything like that, right? So it comes down to, our own personal decisions are our own personal decisions. I just believe that we have to be careful about being too quick to celebrate those things that, in some cases we should be teaching perseverance. And so there is a balance here, is what I'm saying. The perspective that I'm trying to bring this morning is that there is balance to this situation, that we shouldn't be quick to judge, quick to support, or quick to judge on the other side. And I think that when we do that with great context, and we do that with conversation around this, and, I encourage anybody to drop comments on, their opposing views, and I'll be happy to engage in those conversations with you, because I don't believe that, there is a right or wrong answer here. I think it's really important for us to discuss the context of every side of this so that we can actually understand it and not jump to conclusions and reach a point where somebody quitting is celebrated without understanding, and so that is my perspective on it. That is my opinion on it. I think that, we need to do far more of, as a society, of having these discussions of what it actually means and the context of it, as opposed to, just jumping from one side to the other, whether it be, somebody getting canceled for saying something that they shouldn't say. That's an extreme view. And the other side is celebrating something that is, maybe not quite understood yet. And so that's what it comes down to. And that's my perspective on it. And, it is, I just see a comment there that says, stop calling it quitting, but it is quitting. You can't call it anything else. Somebody removed themselves from a competition. Quitting, by the way, the context of that word is all based on the person, right? It comes down to, that is what happens, right? It's not the context of negative versus positive is all in the eye of the beholder, right? So when you think about that from every perspective, you can't call it anything else, right? And that is what it comes down to. And I think that that's why these conversations are so important. We need to understand the context of these decisions that people make, because those decisions have ramifications attached to them, right? And so the more that we understand that, the more that we embrace it, and the more that we talk about it and have opposing views on it, I am open to that, right? I'm open to hearing somebody else's view and debating what it comes down to when we compare quitting versus defining it as something else. So it's, it is a situation where, we all need to have that conversation so that we can all be better for it. So that is my perspective for this morning, guys. I hope it was helpful. I hope it stirred you guys up and got you thinking about, the different sides of this scenario. And again, I am open to having a conversation with anybody that might disagree, because I am always open to learn and open to opposing opinions. And so anybody that has an opposing opinion, by all means, shoot me a DM and let me know that. And I'm happy to engage in that conversation with you. Wishing you guys a happy Wednesday. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I will see you again tomorrow morning, same place, same time, right here on Morning Perspective. Love you guys. Thanks.